Hey guys! Hey everyone! Gosh, it's getting a bit difficult to shout everyone out at the start. Who's there? Chirpy's there, I know that. Mike from Cornwall's there. Ted Rose is there. Joseph Dirt is there. Craig and Maddie, g'day. Chirpy's there. Good video this week, Chirpy. Good to see a video from you. It was, yeah, rather you than me pouring on. Put some PPE on, hey? Craig, g'day. Gary, good morning. Mark Osborne, good morning or good evening. JB, g'day. David Irons, Ian Sykes, g'day. Kevin, Machine NZ, g'day. Matty, hello, if I didn't say that already. Fridge, g'day. Warren, was a g'day. Tom, hello. John, g'day. John Creasy. Glenn at Man Cave Metals, hello. Dennis, Cutting Tool Designer, hello. Wow, I'm not even anywhere near the bottom of the list yet. Hang on. Go Create, g'day. So you got a shout out from Quinn this week. That's awesome. Blondie Hacks recommends the channel. Everyone loves it. It's a good channel anyway. You're making some cool stuff. Good to see the little traction engine out. That's a really nice engine. Anyway, what am I up to? Oh, what's everyone else up to? Everyone's making indicator holders. Holy crap. What did we see? One from Max, one from Craig, one from Maddie, one from Matt Peterson. I got pictures. Anyone else who's there making an indicator? Hit up the hashtag, which is in my indicator videos, and is also in, I think, Max's indicator videos and Craig's indicators videos. Thank Craig for that. But check out that hashtag, GTRW, you got to win an indicator holder. It's a project. If you want a challenge in a small workshop with not very much equipment and make a precision tool, it'll challenge you, but it's good fun, and it doesn't have to be anywhere near as accurate as some of these guys are making it, just so you know, I don't think. And I'll dob Stefan in there, who actually bought the knob. So wherever you're at with that, you can make it as nice as you like, but it's really quite a pretty project. I uploaded it's Joseph's idea. Well, that's awesome. I uploaded video 7, which is the last of the machining tonight, on YouTube. It's been on Patreon for a few days. Is video 7's up. There's still one more to come. Craig, I've just ruined your world. Don't tell you I said that, but yeah, he bought the knobs. I can send you a link if you want to buy them in Australia. DD Barry in Melbourne have them. It's German part. I don't think they're particularly expensive. I'll send you the link. But there you go. Rustin Ox, good day. Mike, love to see it. Send me a picture. If anyone's building it, send me a picture and I'll put them all in a video. How's that? Give everyone a shout out, label them all. Send me a picture, email, or Facebook Messenger, or however you want to, and I'll compile it all and make a pretty cool video from all of us, huh? Happy to do that. Making them's fine, the knobs are fine. Yeah, I made mine out of 1214, which was really nice, and it gives it a nice soft tactile feel, whereas tool steel doesn't. It gives you sort of a hard, sharp edge that's hard to get to be nice. But I guess you've all seen mine. I'm halfway through thinking about a box for it. That's the next thing. If anyone thinks about a box before me, post that as well, because I'm kind of keen to see what you end up with. But there's mine. I've used it once already, and I've got another job lined up where I really need this. So watch and see. And yeah, well spotted fridge. It's in forward gear, so it doesn't run off the bench. So mine's black and a little bit industrial, and probably not to everyone's taste, but let's see what you end up with. I'm not a box person, but it's a nice tool. Going to give it that. There's a bit of a thread about it on YouTube Machinists on Facebook. If you want to check that out, I think the drawings are actually in the YouTube Machinist group file section if you want them. If you really can't find the drawings, or if Stefan didn't see your email because he's a busy guy, drop me an email and I'll send them to you on one condition, and that is that I have pictures of the finished one and we can put it in a video. No pressure. Dial gauge tag goes back in the box. Metal box might be fun too. I'm still thinking about that. I've had a couple of ideas and neither of them have really happened yet. It might happen. Yeah, Creative Commons. Give him a shout out. I don't know if he's going to watch all your videos. There's a list of them. I don't know if you noticed, but I spent all week watching indicator videos, and so did everyone else probably, which is really cool. And it's fun to see how everyone made bits. But you can grab it on the Patreon page. Here's another tip if you're building it, all right? And I'm going to say that here, and I probably should have put it in a video, and I've noticed that 2 or 3 people who have finished it have had the same issue. And that's that the 2 dovetails on your indicator are a different size. This seems to be normal, which is kind of crazy on a precision machine. All the 3 indicators that I have that fit it have different size dovetails on 2 different sizes. So there's quite a range between them. So make sure it fits the tightest one. So there you go. That's interesting. But I noticed Matty had the same problem, is that the 2 dovetails are different. And I think he thought he just had a crap indicator, but I think they're all like it. So there you go. Now, another project, and also Mark Osborne brings up a particularly yeah, Matt said the same thing, right? So that's kind of, I think that's 4 people who said that, and both mine have got different size. The 4 dovetails on the 2 indicators I'm likely to use with it all have different dovetail sizes on them. So there you go. Hi, Richard. Anyway, spare room tool making competition is coming up, and that's pretty cool, really. It's sort of turned out okay, thanks to all you guys. Thanks to a few of you in particular, but TMC 2020 is coming up. That's the hashtag. The video will be out on Friday about this time, so Friday night in Australia time, Friday morning in America. You've got 3 days, 3 months to make a tool and a video. It's not an easy field, I understand that. Shut up, Craig. Not going to be an easy field. It's a bit challenging. The defending champions are kind of a hard act to follow on a good day or on a bad day. On a good day, they're getting difficult. But there's 3 categories and some awesome prizes. Thanks to anyone who helped with prizes. If you're watching this, I'll shout you out properly in a video that comes out on Friday, etc., etc., etc. Let's just say that people have been amazingly generous. It's in German. Machine NZ Kevin. Yes, it's there. It's called. What's it called? The indicator holder is there, but it's in German and it starts with M. There you go. I know it's there, but don't look under Stefan's indicator holder because it's got a crazy long German name. There we go. Measure holder. It's a PDF. I saw John showed me a link. The Aussie Tools sell a Sieg version of that little brake that looks pretty good. Kind of would like to check that out, but for $400, I don't know. Anyway, it's coming up and it's getting close. We're 2 days away. I've recorded the video. Had a couple of meetings with prize donors and judges. Me and Stephen Lang are going to judge it. There's the man himself. Hi, Stephen Lang. Go and check out his coat hanger video. It was up yesterday. And Old Iron Shop's got it too, which was a pretty cool video as well. He's a natural on the camera. He should make more videos. If he's watching this later, Chris, yes, you should. So there's 3 different categories anyway, and it puts it within most people's reach, I think, one category in particular. But there's a grand prize and then there's 2 categories. Put it that way. There's 2 categories. One's for appearance and finish, and one's for video production and storyline. They're both engineering prizes. Like, they're both pretty cool engineering prizes that everyone needs, even woodworkers. So if you know any woodworkers who'd like to enter, all the prizes would be fairly useful if you're messing around with old hand planes and woodworking machinery as well. And then there's a grand prize for best in show. So let's see who gets that, because it's a pretty specky prize. My coat hanger video went up this week. Probably no one watched it by the look of it. Didn't seem like it, but did put a little bit of effort into that. So don't know whether that's worthwhile doing or not. It's a fun video. I very, very seldom have a decent sort of idea for a story. But it was fun. And I'm glad it's over and it's hanging on the wall and it works. Whether I'll ever wind it up, I'm not sure. But it was a kind of a first tentative step into let's say automata, and I'm not sure where I'm going with that. There's some awesome channels that do it. Thanks, guys. Thanks. We'll get to this in a minute, was it? This guy, I got this award last year. Actually, it was the year before. Gosh, time gets along, right? This is the Stewart Arts Maker of the Year 2018 award. Emma Spare Room Machine Shop. This guy's the machine, actually. I love this. It makes me smile every time I see it. $263 people watch it. That's down a bit. Market, it really is. It's a bit ordinary. People watch that match on the live stream. Tommy, that'd be nice. Yeah, I haven't got space for that. So this guy, Jimmy at Stewart Arts, he's got a channel and he does a bit of automaton and some really cool stuff. I really like his stuff, but he sent this award because I don't know, he must have thought I needed a bit of encouragement. But go and check him out. If we have a look at the sticker board, this is him here. So there we go. Someone get an old gun carriage and a couple of tanks, and we'll start with that. And probably with a dinosaur theme. That sounds like fun, Craig and Tom. Go for it. Getting it all together is going to be a bit of a problem. Fancy getting the head on the plane. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. A few people ask about the engine, right? We'll get onto that next. I made a decision. You can probably see the counter again there now. Anyone who wants to look. I've got some cast iron bar. How cool's that? Took a week to get here, but we got it. That one's 4140. We'll put that over there. Now, we've got oil everywhere because it's been on its side for overnight. Yes, there's rules, Chirpy. They'll be downloadable and I'll go through them all on Friday on the video, so check that out. So Friday. One thing at a time, Craig. Slow down. So I've made a decision. Now, this is right out there. I put up, when I started my Patreon, I put up a goal that I wanted to do well enough out of it, I guess, to build a boiler for this locomotive, which is kind of crazy because it's a big job. And to get this thing finished is a bit, you've got to be a special kind of person, I think, but we're going to try. And yeah, rules. The rules, we might be a bit harder on the rules, Maddie, this time. So there's very few rules, as Stephen says, but we're going to be a little bit more proactive on enforcing them. So you might have to stick to them. But they're not particularly difficult. Anyway, I had to think about this, right? And there's two things I could do with it. I could move it on. Boiler builds, yeah. Right. I could move it on and I could think about building something a bit smaller, because this is by the time this gets a tender on it and a boiler on it and some plate work, I'm struggling to lift this as it is sitting here on the bench, right? It's crazy heavy. Dennis, that's awesome. I can't wait to see them. Everyone go check out Dennis, Cutting Tool Designer. Go and check out his channel and subscribe, because he might have some cool videos soon. Give him some pressure. Hey, Dan. Anyway, that was the idea. And then I sort of reneged and said, I'm not sure I'm going to finish this because it's a big logo. But I've been thinking about it. The last few weeks. Right? I got it out a few weeks ago and I gave it a run on the rolling road, and it ticks over beautifully both directions, and it's not too shabby now. When I got it, I pulled it down, I re-quartered all the wheels and retimed it and straightened the frames up because it looked like they'd been dropped on one corner at some point. And basically cleaned everything and put it back together and oiled it up and got it running. Put some timing ports in the top of these cylinders because otherwise you can't see the valves to time the loco. So that was an improvement that I made, not on the drawings, but right, when this gets another 6, 7, 8, 10 kilos of copper on it and some plate work and a tender and running boards and a lubricator and ashpan gear and valves and pipework and stuff, it's going to be a pretty big loco. But I've thought about it and thought, well, what's really stopping me? All that's stopping me is excuses. And I'm not here to make excuses about anything. And this loco is a good runner when it's going. It's historically, people say that it's a beautiful runner and a good performer and a good loco to get going. It's got a decent boiler design on it, and the bits that I've got are fairly well made, even though this is as far as the guy got with it. So the decision's been made to maybe not finish it, but to at least make some constant progress on it and see what we can get. If we can get a spoke box on it and a tender half made, well, then maybe we will think more about building the rest of it in a boiler. So that's where we're at. And a truck to move it, yeah. Wheat bix and a crane. So I don't know if it's a lifetime project. If I got in and fixed it, I think I could have it running in 12 months. However, it's an expensive project. When you look at $1,000, $1,500 for a boiler, it's it's a fairly big boiler, and it's probably a bigger boiler nearly than the one that Go Creates just finished, which is a beautiful job, by the way. Go and check out his channel. It's kind of stocky, and I'd like to get it finished. So even if I just get the smoke box on it, I get a mock-up of the boiler on it, and I get a tender made, and I get some fittings and some plate work and stuff on it, and I get things like the lubricators next. So the little there's a mechanical lubricator goes here on the front between the frames in a box and works off this eccentric on here. You can probably see that. Just put it over here where you can see it. What's a wazzer? Yeah, I don't know. That's what Warren likes to be called. So we're gonna humour him there. We're good at that here. Kevin and Tom about traction engines, just start it. Just start it. Don't leave it another 5 years. Just do it now. Buy some bits, cut some copper, and start it. And yeah, I think Go Create's probably correct that 20% of the boiler cost is silver solder. I believe that. I really do. It's gas and silver solder is probably the biggest cost in the whole thing. But anyway, we've got the skills to make a boiler, and we'd like to do it. However, it's a little way down the track, and we'll get a smoke box on it. I've ordered the castings for the smoke box and some of the tender castings, so we can make some wheels and axles and axle boxes, some frames, things like that, and get a tender chassis sitting on the bench as well. And we can get the smoke box saddle in here, which is the next crazy big job, because to put the smoke box saddle in here, which is the plate, the curved casting that sits on here that the smoke box or the front of the boiler sits on, it has to be machined to fit between here, and then the curve needs to be machined. And then because whoever started this loco didn't put the screw holes or the bolt holes in there to start with, which was a bit stupid, I've got to pull this completely apart and drop it down to bare essentials and drill them. So when we've got that machine to sit in there, we will probably do that next, is pull that thing apart and put that in. And while we're doing it, there's no drain cocks in the cylinders. Probably they weren't drawn with it, and it doesn't need it, but we're going to put automatic drain cocks in, I think, when we've got it pulled apart in the bottom here. So that'll be the next job. So yes, it needs to be a certified boiler. It's big enough for that. It's probably not going to do a lot of club passenger hauling, because I'm really not that person, to be honest. But it will get a bit of running at a club eventually, so it probably wants to be certified. And I haven't got a track here at this point, and I might have an end-to-end track by the time it's finished. We'll see. Fridge's resident loco driver here, he kind of is pretty good at that stuff, so I direct questions at him. I'm good at putting things like this together, I guess, and taking them apart and putting them together and taking them apart and putting them together and taking them apart and putting them together, which is what you need to be good at to make something like this. Any major model engineering project or even engineering project, expect to have it pulled apart 25 times before you've got it together for the last time. And then you pull it apart and paint it. So I would very much like to have an end-to-end track here, even on the veranda. I've got probably 6 or 8 meters, you know. And at some point that will probably happen. But there's a lot of work before we get to that. Can we go through the works? It's a pressure test, but it's also certification is having a look inside it, because there's a lot of bits in this boiler as you go that you can't fix later and you can't see from the outside. So if they're not sort of inspected as you go, you end up with issues inside that no one knows about, and that's a bit scary. No one's going to certify that boiler, which is fair enough. Now, yeah, there's a code to it. Cam, email sent. No, I shouldn't say that. But I appreciate your feedback on projects like this too. Hey, Aaron Engineering, good to see you. Welcome. Craig should pull 3 of you. Seriously. It's pretty stocky little mainline locomotive. It's not a messing around little thing. It's not going to, on the flat track, it's not going to even notice you're there, I don't think. So that's where we're at. So frames are steel and they're all bolted together, which is an old-fashioned sort of way of doing it. Nowadays, most of them are welded. Everything's bolted. These are riveted on here. The horn plates on the I don't know what the best angle is. I'm going to turn this right over like this. I don't think that'll worry anything. Horn plates are all riveted on the frames, which are 3/8 steel. This was started, I guess, in the 40s, after 1935, when it ran in English Mechanics, the serial. Probably the 40s or 50s this was started, because these castings, these wheels on here, are cast on the back with Bonds, which is Bonds of Euston Road in London. And they went out of business in the 50s, so it's before then. Gary, yeah, I reckon 8 grand's probably not far out. So we've got axle pump here that is a boiler pump. Is this device here, and that's got an eccentric on each side that runs, basically there's a pump with valves in each side to fill the boiler, and this has got, out of the top, it's got to overflow back to the tank that you can open up if your boiler's getting full, so it doesn't always pump through to the boiler. And you can overflow it on a long run and back into the tank. Castings for this. This is why I wondered about finishing this, because this is a 3.5 inch gauge, so it's fairly stocky big loco. Really, it's not It's not small. And to build a 2.5-inch gauge loco, which will still pull me, and is a pretty nice bit of gear, only about quarter of the price. Anyway, I'm not going to put 10 grand. Go away. Who's sending me an email? Someone. Anyway, I'm not going to put 10 grand into this. I'm not going to put 5 grand into this. All right. So far, it's cost me, with the castings I've bought, it's cost me nearly $1,000. If you say it quick, that's all right. The cylinders are slide valve. They look like piston valve just for effect, but they are actually slide valve cylinders in here. A lot of these need new studs in them. I've sort of tidied them up and put them all back in and made them all so that they actually work and do stuff, and put some sealant and stuff on it, and managed to get the thing so that it was running and ticking over nice. But I think the last guy who did it, last time he put it back together, basically just slapped it together and didn't think about it. This is Walshart's valve gear. It's kind of fairly straightforward. It's got a link here that reverses the gear so that it runs the opposite way around. And you've got a lever over the back, and when we swing the lever, it moves the links up and down. Or moves the doesn't move the links like Stevenson. It moves the link and moves the pivot point so that the valves work the opposite way around, and the engine runs in reverse. And that's run off here, off this joint. I think this is 1.25 inch, 2.25 inch, 2.25 inch pistons. Yeah, be careful, Chirpy. That's pretty hot. Hey, Corey. So there's only about another 6 iron castings to get, and that's the other 6 wheels. The rest are all bronze and gunmetal. So at some point we'll get this running, but it's a bit of a job. Tom, that's probably about normal, actually, to be honest. What's a day bong? I like that. And there are people that actually know what it is. I like that better. Awesome. So that's where we're at with that. It's a bit of a job. It's a LMS Loco 260 Stania. Mixed goods Loco is not got crazy big wheels, so is probably fairly torquey, but still capable of a bit of turner speed and pull a fair load. So that's where we're at with it. Yeah, we're somewhere between 10 and 40 depending on the day. Go with the nuclear train thing. So what's next? Where are we with the lathe threading project? This has had a break for a couple of days, right? This is one of those crazy projects that I'm not sure why I even started, but I'm glad I've got it now. It's not finished yet. The Americans built nuclear trains, I think. Union Pacific, if you have a look. Clear some of this gear oil off here while we've got it on the bench. Take care. We'll get to you in a minute. Sorry, Man Cave. Thanks for the parcel this week. This cast iron come from Man Cave, so hit him up if you're looking for metal. We'll see you, Glenn. It's good to see you anyway, Aaron. Oh, you're that Aaron. Okay, we've worked that out. We know who Aaron is now. Sorry, Aaron. Got that sorted. And he cuts for free. Well, he probably doesn't cut for free, but he does for me, and I really appreciate that. That's crazy good. Colin Krieg, g'day. Thanks for your email this week. Really appreciate that. Can't wait. So where are we with this? Stephen asked the question, which is an excellent question, and one with no real certain answer. But we'll start with this. Where are we with it? Basically, it's finishing work. We've got most of it working. We still haven't got this adjusted as well as we would like. This system here with the reverse gears, there's a bit of backlash in there, and it's a matter of adjusting these gears against the other gear, and then moving the plate until you get it right. And I've been messing with it, and it's a lot better than it was, but it's a little bit fiddly to get it right. And once we get it right, we're not moving it, I don't think. Still got to make some spaces for these wheels so that they've got a gap between them, because the ones I ended up with, you see there's a gap there. The spaces I ended up with, there's a good one in there, but most of them weren't. So I need to spend some time getting them done and hardened up, and I might get them ground to get John Creasy out offered to grind them, so I'll send them down at some point. Once this is together, I don't think it's going to come apart for a long time. I did get the detents from DD Barry in Melbourne, which are German, and these are nice. And I made a hardened plate to go on here with a slot on the inside that goes in a groove in the main plate, and that's adjustable lengthways for fine adjustment for backlash too and engagement. So we've done that. We've put an oiler in here. We still need to make a knob for that. That's probably next job on it, is to make a knob like a handle. Something similar to this one, I think. Something like that, which is launch pattern, needs to go on here so we can move the banjo around and adjust it. The next part really is here. Now this has just got a straight bush with a lock collar on there, shaft collar. Joseph, yeah, the back plate's a nice job. I'm really... The PLA gears are something else we need to upgrade, and I'm waiting for some cash injection. I guess at some point I will either buy some Bakelite sheet, something like that, phenolic sheet, or probably aluminium's the sensible way to do that. So I'll probably buy aluminium sheet and make them out of that. I think we'll probably do that before too long. We need to fix this because all we've got here is a shaft sticking out. And I've been using it with that on there like that. Not ideal, really. I would like a quick release on this, right, so that we don't chowder this up with grub screws every time we put it on in a different position. And I would also like some sort of a clutch on here, ideally, so that we can engage this in the same position every turn. Now, I don't know if that's actually possible, or whether it's a good idea, or whether it's something we should leave alone. But what I would like is something that clicks on there and clicks off and drives with a positive key or something like that. So probably a spring detent and a groove, which works for this end, which is what this has got. It's got a screw-in spring detent there, adjustable one, just a commercial one, and that works in a groove on the rod it slides on. So probably that's the answer, but it also needs some sort of probably a keyway opposite that's not going to fall out, so that we can just click that on and leave it on, and then we can pull it off to move it, or use a different one of these if we want to use the other end of the bed and we've ever got to make a longer one. So that's the design problem that I'm dealing with at the moment. Not sure about that yet. We will come up with something, but it's going to take a little bit of time. There you go. That's awesome, Maddie. I can suggest some good books. I've also got a good shaper book that I might send you if you want some reading. A really good shaper book. So a D-shaped shaft, Raymond, is a really smart idea. Like, it really is. But then you've got to make a D-shaped socket for it. And a D-shaped socket is a little bit more tricky. So what I would like on there is a spline. So I'm thinking about that. Ideally, I'd like a spline with some sort of a connection. We're still thinking about that. I've drawn some stuff up. I've got some sketches. One day it'll happen. So, oh gosh, Machine NZ, I'll get it off. We'll have a look at that next, because you're all shaper nuts. I don't know why, but you're all shaper nuts. They're handy sometimes, but usually they take longer to set up than to actually do the job. That's where I'm at with shapers. Anyone want to buy a shaper? Because I'd like to put a grinder here on the bench. Hey, I'm not going to say that. That's a terrible thing to say. But I'm keeping the Loco. Chirpy's unsubscribed. This makes some more Shaper videos first, Craig says. Yeah, righto. No, it's not for sale yet, but I'm not sure. Anyway, this is probably too much. This book, right? This is a download off the internet. Suggested course in shaper work for beginners in machine shop practice by Vocational Training and War Production Industries. This one's stamped University of the State of New York. It's 1940s, 1950s book, 1940s, I would say. I should find a link for this. If you check back the video a bit later on, I'll put a link in the description for this book, right? It's pretty stocky publication. It's about 1 inch thick on ordinary paper, printed both sides. But it's full of drawings, so it's not all writing. It's really awesome book. It's got things like setting up, selecting speeds, types of bolts, hold downs, work holding, indicating, tramming, tool holders, tool sharpening, heaps on tool holders and tool sharpening. And it's a vocational school book, like a tool annex book, or whatever you want to call it, wherever it was in America. But it hasn't got any projects on it, but it's got lots on angular surfaces and cutting angles, cutting shapes, cutting keyways, knurling in the shaper, all that sort of trick shaper work that no one sees anyway. But how it works, how to control the speed, how to control the depth, how to set basic stuff, setting clappers, things like that, and how to make them all, how to operate them, rocker arms and things like that. This is a good book, right? It's worth sitting down with. And I've got a digital copy of it, but I've printed it, or a friend printed it for me. And it's a book that, if I get the shaper out, it's usually something I refer to. It's kind of awesome. So there you go. Good shaper book. Hi Dale. Good to see you. I was going to give you a call this week and I haven't got there, and I apologise for that. You probably didn't know, so there's no need to apologise, but I really was going to call you this week. Make sure you got home okay. Make sure that everything's sort of okay in your neck of the woods. I'm glad you checked in, but I hope you got home okay. This book, though, Maddie, is worth spending $20 at Officeworks with, because it's for $20. It's an awesome book, you know. It's worth spending the money on. It's still cheap text. Should have even just sent you a text, actually, and I never got to it, and I apologise for that, Dale, but next time. If you hear from me in the future, in the next couple of weeks, it'll probably be just to say hello. Oh, crap. bench space outside the cone of cleanliness. I don't know if it would be more than that, actually, Maddie. 5 cents a copy for 200 pages. Someone do the maths. And get it bound. It might be $25, something like that. That's exactly right, Warren. I just go to Officeworks or to Office Supplies Place and print it out. I will put a link to it in this video description at some point. It should be tonight. We'll see how we go with that. Hold me to it, someone. Anyway, I'm glad you always get home, and I know that, but I always wonder about you because I know that when you loaded up that milling machine, it looked like that was the only thing in the trailer. However, I also know that on the way home, it will get fuller and fuller and fuller, and I do worry about you. So there you go. Anyway, I will put a link to that in the description on this video at some point. And someone can download it if you need to, because it is a good book. Okay, in other news, Man Cave's disappeared, but he did send me this, right? And this is 60mm cast iron bar. Complete overkill. But it seemed like, after thinking about it for a bit, the best thing to make these staircase clamps out of at a reasonable price with the least amount of work. So I unpacked this, but that's as far as I got. These clamps I've been working on for some time, and R. Stephen Lang sent some washers for these, which is huge. I've got fingers made out of A1 or O1 that are going to last about 2 million years. And I've got springs, which I bought from Dyer Place. I've got T-nuts made out of 4140, which will also last 1 million years. And I need to make these parts, which are so far 3D printed. And Dale, thanks. I don't think that link got approved. Craig or someone, could you just make sure that Chirpy's link got approved? Someone with a blue wrench, please have a bit of a look and see, because I don't think. Yeah, I think you'll have to click accept on it, Chirpy. Anyway, iPad's good, but it's not much good in the workshop. I'll definitely have a look at it later. Thanks, Chirpy. Appreciate that. So the theory is that these are the right diameter to make 2 of these out of them. It's not showing up on my end because I'm only on my telephone. It'll be on my computer screen, and I can okay it there. But I will copy and paste it down into the description, Chirpy. And 2 of these. So these are the right diameter to make, hopefully, two of these pieces and 2 of these pieces. And the tall ones I'm going to get out of these. So material's here now. There's no excuse on that, except it's going to make a huge dust. I'll sort it out. I'll put it in the description on the video in a little bit, and when we're done, and you can download it from there. That's cool. Sometimes it doesn't pop up. I could go into the other room on the computer and get it for you if you like. But anyway, come back and have a look in a little while. So this is a project that's going ahead now. I've been installing this for a little while, trying to work out what material to buy. And Man Cave got this in, and I got it at a pretty reasonable price. Thanks, Glenn. I really appreciate that. If you come back. Oh, of course, Chirpy, you would know where to find it. So that's a project. Quite a project. There's a lot of swarf to come off them, and what I'm going to do, I think, with these is set them up with a spigot at the back that I can chuck them with, right? And then chuck them the other way around and drill them and bore out the centers to that radius and machine the outside. And then I'm going to set them up probably in the saw or something like that, or maybe even use a horizontal mill and trim the sides off them like that, there and there, and put a radius on them. That might even be the last thing, I think. And we can start working on this bit here. I'm going to make a fixture for these for the rotary table so that they locate on a fixture plate rather than mess around with the chuck that's going to move and come loose and all that sort of stuff. And you've got to bolt down and find 2 more bolts for all that sort of fun stuff that happens with rotary tables and chucks that you don't know about until you start to use one. So I'm going to make a little fixture plate to mount all these up because they're all basically the same part. This one's square and this one's triangle shaped, but apart from that, they're very, very similar. And we're going to set them up on an angle and machine the steps. So that's where we're at with that. Dale, I'm just lost for words here, but anyway, I'm reading. A fireball square for helping you out. It's pretty nice. Wow. I'd come and help. But running out of gas isn't bad for you. That's really... Yeah, if that's all that happened, I'm glad you got through okay. So anyway, this is a project that is going to take a couple of weeks of dirty cast iron work. And I might do them in steps, so don't expect it to happen anytime soon. Same as this project. Don't expect a lot to happen anytime soon. I would like to get on and make a lubricator. Now, while we're on the subject of boilers, can't believe I said which. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's a project, big project, but we've got the material there to do them. We'll probably should get on and finish that. Oh God. Now, boilers. There's another job that we really should do before we get involved in this locomotive. right? I have 2 of these, right? And I'm going to say something because Chirpy's too polite and someone else is going to say something. And I might as well be first, right? These are a work in progress and they're just about finished, actually. There's not much to be done on the boilers. The boilers have been tested. They all work. Everything's good. They've got safety valves in them. Everything's set. Everything's ready to go. These 2 boilers need burners and one of them needs to go to the USA. You fit right in there, Dale. It's your kind of people. It sounds awesome. Everyone meet Aaron. Everyone meet Rust Knox. Gary mentioned it first. Yeah, I ignored you, Gary. Anyway, these 2 jobs are fairly straightforward and easy to finish. I'm going to get these out of the way before I really start any of this. So this 2 burners for these are next, and we'll get these off the bench and done. All right. Now, while we're on the subject of locomotives, two years ago I started these. Oh my gosh. I didn't intend to even get this on the bench tonight. We'll put that back on the lathe out of the way. 2 years ago I started these. Right? You're all a bad influence. Yes, I'm running out of boxes, and yeah, I procrastinate in too many things. That's why I mention them here, because I need a bit of a wake up. Now, I did a really stupid thing when I started these, and I decided I was going to build 2 of them. Not a smart idea, because they're a crazy big project to finish 2 of them. And we've got 2 of them up to this stage. However, we're going to rebuild these boilers and do them again. Probably we're just going to put new pipework in them. I'm not sure about that. But I think that these 2 little locos are probably going to get some bench time in the next little while. That's my thoughts. One of them anyway, and we'll get in and we'll probably make this boiler again. Where I stuffed up this last time is I made the boiler with 532 tube instead of 1/8 tube, and it's really not got enough clearance in here to fit everything. So the answer will be to fix that first, because like there's not enough clearance between the wheel and the boiler for the pipe, things like that. And they've got a little oscillating engine in the back, which is tiny, and I never had my mill set up good enough to do that when I started this project. I never had a chuck to hold them in properly to do precision work like that. So they need running like coupling rods on the outside, and they need the engines built. We've got the gears for them, which are little worm drive gears. It's got a worm shaft through here and a flywheel and a little oscillating engine. And it needs plate work, and it needs tanks and a burner. I'm going to do some work on these next, I think, before I tackle these, and after I've done those. So I thought you were bad at finishing each other things. I'm not bad at finishing things. I actually finish stuff, right? I've actually got projects here that I've finished, right? Not shabby at all. I have other things that I finished too. I just have to think of something. Yeah, no. I'm sure there's something here I finished at some point. There's got to be. Anyway. I'm much better at starting things than finishing things, unfortunately. This project can be finished very quickly, right? There's a bit of work in these. There's a lot more work in these than I thought. They're O gauge to fit on. They run on my Hornby tinplate track. I would like to get them finished. I mean, they're not big locos at all. I'd like to get one finished, and I probably won't scrap the other one, but I'm going to build it differently to this one. So there we go. That's where I'm at with it. I've actually got this series half written up for Model Engineer magazine, and that's something that I'd like to continue with that, but we'll see. It's a bit of work in them. Anyway, that's the projects at the moment. Is anything I missed? Okay, if anyone happens to have missed it, and you probably shouldn't have, but Mr. Pete has had some video log lockdown videos the last few weeks. Right, now Mr. Pete is an amazing conversationalist and a really great guy with a pretty good sense of humor and a good sense of showmanship and some smarts. Take care, Russ and Ox. Coat Hanger 2020 is still time, you guys. Still time. Raymond, you just shut up over there in the corner. I'm ignoring you. Mr. Pete's had a pretty good series of chat videos or funny story or anecdote or cool videos lately. If you haven't watched them, you probably should, because they're good fun. Oh, I finished the coat hanger too. Alistair, good day. Yeah, that's gonna. If you saw my coat hanger adventures with a very small lathe, check him out, because his coat hanger video is going to be 5 times better than mine. Another defending champion for the toolmaking competition. Adrian Straub's was good. I really enjoyed that, Richard. I really did. Go and check that out. Good fun video. Really enjoyed that. Shaper video too. So anyway, I've been enjoying Mr. Pete's videos. I'm going to drop him a line because he turned off comments because it's too controversial. So I'm going to drop him a line at some point and say we're all thinking of him. And to keep him coming because we really appreciate his content and the time he takes to do them. Oh, well, thanks, Alistair. I finished scraping the surface plate. I didn't actually finish making a box for it. That's another job that I really should do. There you go. Got all the ideas in my head there. See, so there's probably 10 projects here that I could finish. So having got that locomotive on the bench is probably as far as it's going to be for a little while. It's going to be here in the way until I get sick of it. And then I'll put it back in the corner. But I have ordered some bits for it, and I wanted people to know that we're going ahead with that. We're not going to get rid of it. Mr. Pete, yeah, I don't think he comes across like that. I don't think he's that person. I think if you did the wrong thing by him, he would probably tell you. But I don't think that. I mean, he's dealt with school kids all his life. I don't think he's that person that would hold grudges. I think he would be fairly easy to deal with if you were an idiot. He's a great guy. If you ever get a chance to meet up with him, go and do it. Some of us I know have done that. There's a few here on the chat that have actually met the guy. He's larger than life, and he's an incredible storyteller. Whatever he sets out to tell you, you'll end up with a crowd listening because it's a good story. I'm not sure any of his stories can be taken as straight down the line and entirely factual. But anyway, that's all part of the fun. Now, been reading a book. Book time. If you get a chance to find this, right? Jet Lag Travel Guide, there's a few of them. This one in particular is my favorite. It's a knockoff of a Lonely Planet travel guide. This one's about a country called Malvania in Eastern Europe, land untouched by modern dentistry. Check this out if you get a chance. This is pretty good reading. Land untouched by modern dentistry. Birthplace of the poker and the polka and the whooping cough. Whooping cough. It has been overlooked as a tourist destination, but thanks to this useful phrases. What is that smell? Eating out in Malvania is quite cheap, but in some larger cities, you may be expected to pay extra for a waiter with a moustache. And the national anthem was chosen in 1987 as part of a competition sung to the tune of What a Feeling from Flashdance. The third verse is generally considered optional. Good book, well written, pretty funny, and worth chasing up. If you see this in a second-hand bookshop, grab it because it's a good book. In Indianapolis. But no, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. And Dale's pretty good at the storytelling too, and we miss him this year. I hope someone holds the summer bash, but I won't be there. And JB says surface plate box. Thanks, JB. It's here. It's actually sort of half glued together. I've got some video footage sort of in a file somewhere if I could find it. There you go. Van's looking really good, Dale. So anyway, that's all that's been happening in my life. I'm back to work as normal as of today. So the reality is that in Australia, this whole virus epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, I'd like to say it's on the downhill side. We had a busy day again today. I rebuilt a Longines watch and a couple of other jobs that have come in. Not just everyday emergency repairs. We've done a pretty good day's work today. So realistically, hopefully things are over and we can start to think about travel and stuff again. Hey, Stuart, good to see you. 2 to 3 weeks will tell. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But at this point, I'm at work. Take care, Mike. Catch up. I don't think it needs to get back particularly quick, but I think people are starting to feel like it's normal a little bit. I mean, I'm getting people in the shop a lot more than we were a week ago. So it's good to be back at work, and it's good to have everything sort of going along as normal, I guess, or what feels like normal, a routine, etc., etc., etc. It's been fun to get some jobs done. And it's been fun to be. I spent all last week trying to get a coat hanger to work, which was quite an ordeal. There's other news too. Now that's a bit tough, Dennis. There's other news. There's a parcel left from Clark Eastling in Mississippi, and it's got as far as Florida, so it's probably not going to be sent back. At this point, I'll keep everyone updated. I might bung the traffic, like the tracking numbers up in Patreon so people can track that, because that's the cylinder head and the piston for the Stewart 400 engine, which is another job that I'm making progress on slowly. So that parcel's, yeah, it's on its way. It should be here sometime before the end of May. Oh no, the end of probably August, I would say. It'll be here sometime before the end of August, I hope. Gosh, all you Tasmanian guys. It's pretty cool though. This is dragging on a bit. Who's getting sick of it? We can find another unfinished project to talk about if you want. More unfinished projects. Where are we going to go? I'm going to shift some stuff off the bench. Give me a minute. So here we go. Here's a project. Take care, Kevin. Oh, it's getting late. Sorry. Take care, Kevin. Good to see you. We'll find that book for you. What will impress you is I've got an apology to make about last week because I did get my phone, once it gets down below about 5-10%, plugging it in isn't going to help while it's on live stream because it just pulls too much power out. So this week I plugged it in before I started and it was charged up pretty well before I went. So that's where we're at. Right, I don't know how many people have actually seen this. I think I did a bit of a video on it. This is an L model launch. Oh, wow, Stuart. You need a new workshop? You can file up the first bits in the lounge room. You don't need a workshop. It's 3.5-inch gauge. Buy a new file and a vise. And clamp the vise to an old wheel or something. Weld it to an old grader wheel or a tractor wheel or something. And put that in the lounge room. You'll make a good start on that. You'll have it finished before you know where you are. That's pretty cool, JB. See how you go with that. We do need a conrod for that engine. Anyway, Maddie's workshop got in touch with me a little while ago. That's before he started to get big on YouTube, and said, I've got this Launch lathe. What do you know about it? What can you tell me about it? And I gave him some information and gave him a price I thought was too dear for it, and said, that's about what you can expect for it. And he said, well, I'd take this much. So I sent him some money, and he got in touch with a friend with a truck, and I picked this up on the side of the road off the back of a truck, or out of a dog box on the side of a B double in the middle of the night. And it was all boxed up in a big crate. But this is a Launch L, which is a little sister to my Launch A, and it's twice as big as a Launch WW, which is a watchmaker size. JB, stop holding stuff up. That's where we're at with that. Yeah, you tell him. Now, this is a pretty tidy lathe. There's a few things wrong with it, right? The bed's good. It's mostly complete and original. The compound's reasonably good. There's no damage in here like there usually is with them. It's damaged in the bottom. And drop bits here everywhere. Sorry. This looks like the end of a pool cue or something. It's not genuine parts, but anyway, we'll make the right bits. If we have a look, the floor is not a shelf, apparently, Gary. I've heard that somewhere. This cast iron's broken out in the T-slot here, right, which is not quite terminal, but it's not real good. So what I'm going to do is machine this out and put 2 iron or steel parts slips in here with screws, and JB weld it all off nice so the dust stays out of it and it doesn't collect too much oil and dirt and stuff and it doesn't come loose, and rebuild this. I think that's the best way to fix this. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a problem with these. The other thing that's a bit of a problem is that this here falls apart, but that one seems really good. And I've actually done my big Launch, which had the same problem. That's just a sliding fit on there. And there's a nut to hold it in place. And there should be a washer. But someone's done a bit of a job on that. So this is a bit unusual because it's got a prism on one side of the slide which actually locks everything in place. The head and the tailstock anyway. And this head goes like this. If we have a look, that's how it locks up. So it pulls that up on the slide on the bed on that side. This has got a nasty bend in it too. I'm not sure whether it's cracked or it's just bent. I'm suspicious it's probably cracked through there, so we might need to make another one of them as well. The main thing that's holding us up is that some turkey, I'm not going to use stronger language, but I probably should, some idiot has put the motor down on the bench behind this lathe, and the belt doesn't clear the headstock. So someone's filed or ground this out so it does clear. Not the correct answer. This machine should have had an overhead shaft at very least. And probably if I do it up and put it on a bench, it will have an overhead shaft and lots of other things as well. But it's an expensive lathe to restore because parts for them are expensive, and accessories get completely out of hand, so it gets expensive. I'm probably going to patch this up with something, probably an epoxy or something, epoxy metal. Not sure yet. Probably DevCon, something like that, when I get a chance, and put this all back together. No, it goes that way. This one has never had an index plate on here for the indexer. It's got the piece on there for the. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. It's got the piece on there for where the hole should be for the indexer, but it's never ever been fitted. So Kevin. Oh, Kevin's gone. I was going to give Kevin, just show this to Kevin, but anyway, he's disappeared. It's late. If he comes back, Kevin's video about Kevin's video about his engine and running metal on metal in the big ends. This here is steel on steel. And I thought when I was going to get this out that I would show him this, but he's just disappeared. That's all right. He'll be back. But this is steel on steel. 100 years later, no wear in it that you can find. Amazing fit. It's not the only device I've ever seen with steel on steel crank. My Stewart 400's cast iron and steel. I don't expect it to ever wear if it's fitted properly. And the big launch is steel on steel too, and there's no wear in that. So I don't think that there's a problem with steel on steel bearings. And there's a cone in the front, which is this one, which is steel. It runs in this one. And there's a cone on the back which slides. It's actually a pretty good fit on there, which it needs to be. But that slides backwards and forwards and is adjusted on the back with two nuts. I'll put these nuts on so they don't fall off. And it's got a thrust bearing on here, which the pulley takes up with the screw, and that's what provides the preload on the crank, on the spindle. This takes 10mm launch collets, which are like rocking horse poo. They really are. They're almost impossible to find. Take care, Dale. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in, and I will give you a call at some point. You're probably crazy busy, but a retired guy like you could take a phone call. I'll check out my time zones and I'll give you a call. So that's where we're at. Now, we've got a box of collets. Okay. It's a pretty hefty little lump of a lathe. It's not a baby by any means. It's about twice as big as a WW watchmaker's lathe. And it's swing a fairly big chuck. It's, I think, not quite 6 inches it'll swing. So it's fairly stocky little lathe, and it's certainly well on the way to being a pretty good machine tool. It won't ever be a Chauvelin 70, which has got 3 times as much metal in it and probably 3 times the price when it was new. But a friend in Sydney was cleaning out a shed 12 months, 18 months ago, and said, I have this box, right? This got dusty in the meantime. I have this box of bits. Do you want them? And I haven't looked in here for 6 months. But let's push this back a little bit further. Slide that over there. Lift this up. This is full of what I believe to be Derbyshire or that's a Lorch collet that's not worth fixing. That's a dead one. I think these are probably they don't screw on, so they're imperial of some sort. These bits are fairly easy to make, but there's a set of ring chucks there, inner and outer, and there's a lot of Derbyshire standard collets. And there's even an adapter for a WW8mm, I think, or 2. That's an 8. That one's not much good, do you think? That's a 10. Don't know what's in here. No, it's not. There's one. This is 10mm Derbyshire, or 11 is another system that uses these. These are still available new. These are all a bit rough. We need a bigger bench, Marty. Maddie, you're right. This is about Sherline size. It's a bit more solid than Sherline. There's nothing wrong with a Sherline. In fact, Sherline still make these collets, right? You can buy a Sherline with this system. They're available still. So a new set of collets is not beyond the realms of incredible. But what I thought to do is adapt this to fit those, because Derbyshire 11 collets are available fairly easily. I believe that this is probably nearly the right taper and everything else to go in there, and we can make a drawbar for them. And that would be a really good way to do it, because these are available out of Switzerland and they're also available out of America, and I think they could even be available out of China. So that's a fairly common system. So that was my thoughts on setting this up for collets. Rather than try and find Lorch D size, Lorch L size, I think they are. Lorch L1s, which are a miniature version of this long one, right? Almost impossible to find. The reason they made them long like this, and someone asked the question, why did they make the collet so long? Is because this needs a key in it to stop them turning, and the key's back here behind the bearing. So that's the main reason. So we're going to have to think about that a little bit. But I don't see why we couldn't make something to convert that to Derbyshire or to Leven or whatever you want to call it, 10mm Waltham or whichever standard you like to call it. But it's a fairly common small lathe standard. So Leven's 20 times the lathe this will ever be. I mean, the Leven is an amazing machine. It's up there. It's as good as a Chauvelin. It's probably better in some regards, some of the more expensive ones. But they didn't make anywhere near the quantities of the meter. And they made a lot of these. They were a mass-produced machine, and there's a few of them in Australia. I've seen a few of them. I believe Eccentric Engineering has one and has the same problem with collets. So my thoughts about that is to fit these. I don't know how many of these are really salvageable. Some of them probably are. They're all a bit rough, and they look like they've been sitting in a puddle for about 1,000 years, which I'm sure they have. That's the retaining or the pulling collar for these. That looks like this is actually a genuine one. It'll have F. Lorch and Co. written on it somewhere, or Lorch Schmidt. Or this one would be Derbyshire. I reckon being Australian, it'll be Derbyshire. I doubt it's 11, and I doubt it's probably American. But that pulls in there like that. So they can be rethreaded or remade without too much effort. And this could be adapted because that's not a bad collet, and there's a few of them that aren't too badly damaged. This one's been looked after actually compared to some of the Lorch ones I've got. Anyway, if anyone wants a project and nothing to do for lockdown and wants to come and spend some time in the spare room, there's projects. Like, there's stuff to do. I micromanage, that's all. Lathes. Unimat's not a bad machine. They're all right. The later ones were built with the same sort of quality as the Maximat or the Hobbymat or any of those. And the Unimat 3, the later one, was not a bad machine. I had one of them for a while, and that's about the same size as this. But the Unimat with the 2 bars for the bed, it's kind of a bit of a toy. It's not a bad machine when it's running right, but you've got to treat it nicely, and I guess it's the same with any small lathe. Anyway, that's another project that's sitting here on the bench in the way. It needs its own bench. It needs a motor drive. I'm going to probably put a DC variable speed sewing machine motor on it. And it needs overhead line shaft. It needs a bit of work on the headstock. It needs a bit of work on the bed. It needs a bit of work on the tailstock. It needs some accessories. It needs the compound fixing in places. It needs a couple of new hand wheels probably. It needs some little stoppers for oilers. And I've got a cup of tea, which I'm not going to show anyone because someone said my tea was anemic, so I'm a bit bashful about that. Anyway, that's another project, and it's the machine shop project that's sitting around here sort of it's the elephant in the room at the moment here. And I would love to get the thing running. I've cleaned the paint off. I'd love to get it tied together and probably make a little turret for it for doing steam fittings, things like that. And probably another accessory I'd really like to have for this is a coil winder. Probably more than anything, I'd love to have a coil winder on it permanently almost. And that might be a project. Rather than have it set up as a lathe, have it set up with the coil winding system on it and a counter. Might be fun. Anyway, Richard, good to see you. Thanks for that. Who else is getting sick of this? What's the time? Crap, it's nearly 10 o'clock. I'm probably going to call it pretty soon. But what else do we want to know about? I've got some more stickers coming up, apparently. A shout out for them when they come. That's pretty exciting. A couple of channels with stickers that I'm excited about. If anyone, here we go. What's for breakfast? I'm probably going to have a cup of tea and a slice of toast or something. I don't tend to eat a lot of breakfast, but that's hours away. Here's another thing, right? I've probably brought this up on live stream before. That's awesome, Maddie. You're producing some pretty good stuff, and maybe it's because of the hashtag too. That's awesome. This mug, I've got my cup of tea in. YouTube Machinist Group on Facebook. Hit them up. Expect to see you all there, except for you paranoid people. This is a chuck off the big launch. As you may know, I'm in the middle of putting reversing gear on the launch. That's the new belt pulley, which is your subs went down after you posted the coat hanger video, Stephen. That's terrible. I don't think mine went up, but I don't think they moved. It's just a little bit different. But yeah, they might come back right again. I wouldn't worry about that for a week. It's got to be something strange happening there. Because no one really unsubscribes, and idiots if they do. Some people do, but they're the exception rather than the rule. So this is the new belt pulley for the overhead on the big launch. This is a job for this weekend. I'll get that up and running because I need that. And when I've got that, I've got two chucks that are going to unscrew, and that's a problem. Mine are up about 25 since I posted that video on the coat hanger, and that was right out of left field for me. So hopefully they pick up again this Friday when I drop the tool making competition video. Look out for that Friday. Probably about live stream time on Friday. New video will drop. TMC 2020 if you're not all down with that already. Atlas Lathe has the same problem with the threaded chuck. Yes, what do we do about it? Right? How do we fix this? I haven't really given it a lot of thought, but I think I'm going to put a locking collar on these. And I guess I need some sort of retaining groove to stop them coming off. And Allen key screw and a split collar across there. And then you've got to split this in a couple of places to lock on the the retaining shoulder on the head. So I now have thread cutting, and I've got this machine set up so that I can thread cut this, and probably I can make a back plate for this and a back plate for the other chuck with a locking collar on it. But if anyone's got anything like that, I know Dad's big Toss had that system, and I'm sort of trying to remember how that works. But if anyone's got anything like that, hit us up with a picture, guys, or make a video about it, because I'm kind of interested. You could do that. I don't like doing that in my threads on my good lathe, because the problem is that it's a good idea to put crab screws in, but it's also a good idea to take them out before you unscrew the chuck, and I'm not particularly good at remembering that. Question. My 40s Hercus has a threaded chuck mount. I can't get it off. I put the back gears in without undoing the pin, but I'm scared. No, don't try with the back gears. There we go. You're going to need a bit of shock on it, Warren. I will hit you up on Facebook about some ideas for that, because everyone will be shocked if I put them here. But you don't want a shock against the back gears. That's the thing, because you will bust one. That's not fun. But you will be able to do it, but you're going to need some method of holding it. And yeah, it's doable. Yeah, or a length of wood or a block of wood through the jaws and give that a tap is probably not a bad idea. If you get a bit of 4x2 and open the jaws up, or a bit of timber and put through, and a decent big. I have a tool for this. Which doesn't actually come out very often. There you go. Don't see it very often. It doesn't happen with my lathe very often now. Everything's clean and I look after everything. But this is what you're going to need. Hide or a rubber hammer, fairly big one. And you're going to have to hold it with something on the spindle to stop it turning. Not anything with teeth, but if you can wrap something around it and get a chain clamp or something like that on a bit of liner, or a bit of something a bit thick, and that you can, a bit of leather. If you wrap a bit of leather around the back of the spindle and get a chain clamp or something on it, you'll move it. It'll have something caught in it. G'day, Dan. Oil filter wrench, if you can get it down small enough, that's probably not a bad thing either. You would have one of them before you give the truck back, Warren. But expect to see full disclosure on that. Over the shop and back, Dan. Anyway, that's fixed the problems of the world. We haven't started on the virus or the app. Hey, Jonathan W., good to see you. I've been meaning to drop you an email, Jonathan. A little while ago, you started some little petrol engine kits out of one of the Popular Mechanics magazines or something like that. State of play. That's all. That's all I'm saying, Warren. Jonathan. That's all I'm saying. So I think I've got the right Jonathan. Aha, yes. If it helps Eddie, I'll send you the money. I would like so. I'd love to. I haven't sort of forgotten about that. See how you go. Next 5 years. I've got plenty else to do. We've spent 2 hours talking about unfinished projects here, so we've got plenty to do. We haven't even asked about the steady yet. Anyway, with that, I'm going to call this because we're 2 hours down and I've got work tomorrow and I've still got to have dinner. Thanks, everyone, for all your kindness and for checking in, catching up. Really appreciate that. Check out the tool making competition video, which is uploaded and ready to go for Friday, so there's no excuses there. And you've got 3 months to make something, so have a think about that too. And shut up about the homemade trifle, Gary. Take care, everyone. We'll catch up with you around the traps. We'll see you when the rabbits get thicker, as we say in Australia. And more soon, guys and girls. Be kind to each other, eh? And I'm out.